Now for something truly life-changing, 5G is becoming a reality with major networks ramping up efforts to bring us faster speeds, connections and access to the cloud. To give you some idea, 5G connections will be 100 times faster than the 4G you're currently using. It's much more than that. 5G connectivity will impact everything from household centres to thermostats, autonomous vehicles, robots, and the race is on to bring it to you and me. Sprint's commercial launch is slated for May. Verizon has been trailing its service in some US homes. Ivan Seidenberg is a former chairman and CEO of Verizon. Good to see you again, sir. And the author of Verizon Untethered, detailing his time at the firm and the evolution. He joins me now from New York. I'll apologise to you too, sir, that I'm not with you in New York. Look, 5G, is it going to be everything that people say it should be or will be?
Well, good to be here, Richard, and thank you very much for inviting me. I think 5G is going to be transformative. When you think about the wireless business going from, as we talk about in our book, deploying technology from 1G to 2G all the way up to 5G, every time we deploy a new technology platform, we enable more things to occur than anybody ever could imagine. So quickly, what 5G does, as you've already mentioned, is 5G will create more capacity, will connect more devices to the network, it uses less power, and it is faster on a latency basis, meaning the speed of connection is quicker. So all sorts of new things can occur. When you were at Verizon,
did you realise how quickly this would come along, this 5G, and also the astronomical sums of money that it would take to invest in it?
That's a very good question. So when our team at Verizon always believed that if we invested in our technology platforms, we would be deploying capital that would create growth opportunities. And that was the case when we went from 3G to 4G and now from 4G to 5G. So we were a very willing investor in the capital required to put out 5G. And the important thing about 5G, though, is that we already have an infrastructure that's been built out over the last 30 years. So the incremental cost of putting on 5G is much less than the cost of putting in prior technology platforms.
Huawei, the question of Huawei. Do you trust Huawei? And would you, I don't think you did you, put it into your systems?
Well, all I can do is report on what we did years ago, which is, I think, a little different now. We did not have a lot of Huawei equipment in our network. We had the same concerns that people have expressed now about security and relationships with Chinese industrial policy. But I do think that what the government is doing now, which is to vet it out and to look at the standards and the protocols and to do a proper investigation, I trust that the government understands what it needs to do here. And I'm sure the current company under Hans, they'll take a careful look at it and they'll act accordingly.
Right, but on the bigger issue of Huawei, do you think the concerns, I mean, look at what the US government has said. It's basically threatened the Germans today in the last 2 weeks that they'll stop sharing intelligence if Germany introduces Huawei. The Australians and the New Zealanders don't. The Brits are saying they can manage it. Do you think that Huawei is a danger to Western infrastructure?
Well, that's an overstatement, I think. But what I would say is there is enough anecdotal evidence that would suggest that the various Western governments should take a careful look at their practices and their protocols and to make sure that they're doing a fair job at representing, providing neutral and important equipment for 5G. There is no mistake that over time, Huawei will become or is an important supplier for 5G equipment. But I think all of these short-term issues, they need to be resolved, and I would not hesitate. So as an old guy, looking at the industry in retrospect, I think where we are today is it's a fair place to make sure that Huawei is doing all the things that they should be doing.